Good evening everybody. Today we'll take a look at a Buckethead story that's been spread around for many years and ask, is it just some GNR lies?
Woo! 'Cause I'm a liar! Yeah, I'm a liar!
The story was first published in 2008, told by former Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue A&R guy Tom Zutaut, who served as GNR's A&R guy for a second time during Buckethead's stint with the band. It begins with a dumb, fictitious story about Buckethead getting mad and swearing because he saw a KFC outlet getting blown up on the news. Which, provided no people were hurt, Buckethead would probably celebrate a KFC getting blown up, not get mad.
What would you do if Colonel Sanders were here?
I would slice him into small bits and bury him.
The story then continues with a long spiel about how Tom Zutaut rescued Axl Rose's marriage and how the new GNR called him up and begged him to come back and rescue the band. Because, in his words, they said he was the only one who could save them and get Chinese democracy released. We then get to the Buckethead segment of the article where Zutaut says he met with Bucket, who voiced his displeasure at having to come to the studio every single day when Axl wasn't there and play the same parts over and over again. No doubt. Zutaut then suggested to Bucket that they build a chicken coop inside the studio to make him feel more comfortable. And 2 days later it was built. The chicken coop story is 100% true, backed up by Axl's personal assistant, Beta.
This is Elizabeth Labus. Beta.
Unlike some websites want you to believe, the coop was small, cost no money and was filled with Buckethead's toys and props. All of which can be seen in the background in his 2002 interview with MTV. From there, the story continues and the smell of BS starts to come in. And because this is YouTube in 2020, to tell the rest of the story, I'll be changing the P word with puppies. According to Zutaut, Buckethead requested that a TV be set up in the studio so he could sit and watch hardcore puppy movies in order to get inspired. Then one day Axl finally showed up, got mad at the sight of Buckethead watching dirty, depraved puppies and scolded Buckethead. This being the same Axl Rose who done doggy style in the studio on the song Rocky Queen. Now call me a cynic, but this sounds like complete puppy poop. Speaking of which, Zutaut also claims that Buckethead was inspired by the smell of poop that one of Axl Rose's dogs deposited in the coop. Oh jeez.
Oh jeez.
At this point, some of you out there might be saying, well, Buckethead did sing that song about a hardcore puppy star called Danielle Cheeks. So, well, in our interview with one of Buckethead's best friends and GNR's drummer at the time, Brian Bray Mantia, this is what he said about Danielle.
I kept talking about some like porn, chick or whatever, and I think her name was Danielle Cheeks or something. So
yeah.
all that stuff was coming from me.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, because Bucket's
Clean.
he's clean in his, he doesn't. He just likes horror and that stuff.
So the whole Danielle thing came from Brain. In fact, you can see Brain watching some hardcore puppy action during Primus's 1998 webcast. Good lad. At the same time Buckethead was in GNR, he was also recording with longtime friend and producer Travis Dickerson. Travis took many photos of Buckethead in the studio, one of those being this one, showing Buckethead watching what looks like a horror movie in the studio on his laptop, which Travis captioned as inspiration. So two of Buckethead's closest friends who have known him for over 30 years say he's clean cut and only into and inspired by horror movies, whilst an A&R guy who knew him for a few months paints a picture of some depraved hardcore puppy lover. Who do you believe? Personally, I really couldn't care if Buckethead was in the studio watching that stuff. Pretty much everybody has watched it and it's totally okay. But what bothers me is someone telling a story that seems to be fabricated about a person who has literally never said a bad word about anyone, and who they know is never gonna respond to it. And when that story is constantly reprinted and spread around without any journalistic integrity, proper research, or even an opinion given about it, it's an insult to a musician and person who deserves much better. Shortly after this supposed story took place, and whilst Buckethead was still in the band, Tom Zutaut was fired by Axl Rose for lying to him, and has not returned to the band in any capacity since. You can find the link to the article below, so let me know what you think.